Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a favorites video. I haven't done a favorites video in ages. I might call this my June favorites, I might call this my current favorites, but I do have several beauty products here that I have been using obsessively for quite some time now, and I am ready to share them with you. I will say that I am currently on my no buy, which basically means that I'm pretty much left to using what I have, and as a result I have made some fantastic discoveries in my own makeup collection that I hadn't been using before previously. I've come up with interesting ways to use the makeup I have in different ways I didn't even realize I could. So that will be pretty much the topic of today's video. I'll be sharing with you guys my favorite makeup items, and I will also be talking to you guys about some interesting ways I have been coming up with to use the makeup that I already own. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So I first want to start out with a lip color, and I usually don't necessarily start off with lipstick in favorites videos. I don't know why. I feel like lipstick is just like a finishing kind of step in makeup in general, so as a result I just compel myself to not start out with it all the time. But this is the Milani lipstick that I'm actually wearing today. This is in the shade number 15, Hot Pink Rage. I recently was cleaning out my room and I stumbled across a list I had made of things I was not interested in trying out makeup wise, and I think I created that list, I think it was 6 months ago or something like that. And on that list, pink lipstick was one of the things I said at the time I was not interested in trying out. Oh, how things have changed. Right now, I consider a pink lipstick almost the equivalent to a nude lipstick. That's just how much I have been wearing it. And this is actually one of my favorites, and it's one of my favorite formulas to wear as well. The color is really bright. It really pops against whatever makeup look I'm wearing. It really just calls attention, and I really like it. It just finishes off a look quite brilliantly, and the finish is really nice as well. It is, in my opinion, kind of like a hybrid between a matte finish and a cream finish. Regardless, it is very comfortable on the lips, it stays on quite nicely, and it doesn't really transfer that much. Keep in mind though, this is a lipstick, and I actually have been sort of enjoying getting back into lipsticks because at some point, I think I was completely uninterested in wearing lipsticks, but recently I have been just wearing lipsticks that I had not been touching in my collection before because I just think that I really like the feeling of handling like an old-fashioned bullet lipstick. I'm saying old-fashioned, but it really it really isn't old-fashioned, but like compared to the liquid lipsticks, I guess you would call a bullet lipstick a little bit more dated, but I still feel like it's just like a nice experience, like having that bullet lipstick, plus it's so much more comfortable on the lips. Moving on, I also want to talk about one more lip item, and this is actually something that I have been wearing a ton when I'm not filming. When I'm not wearing makeup specifically for YouTube or Instagram, I actually do prefer doing like a really bold winged liner with a little bit of eyeshadow smudged underneath my eyes, and I pair that usually with a nude lip. I've kind of been obsessed with that like 60s 50s type minimalist eye makeup with like a really just classic lip. That's kind of what I've been really into, even though I think that kind of makeup is more 60s than 50s, definitely. But I've really been obsessed with that kind of look, and to achieve that I have been using pretty much like a lip balm on my lips, and then on top, where is it? I literally just put it down. I like to put on this lip product right here. This is the Physicians Formula Muru Muru lip color, and this is a lip color that has SPF 15, and this is in the shade Soaking Up the Sun. This, I like to call this lip gloss in a lipstick form because it literally is just that. It gives your lips such like a beautiful boost. It's a completely glossy formula, and it is almost completely sheer, or it can be, but this is what it looks like when you just like swatch it. And what I like to do is I like to put this all over my lips, and it just like fades beautifully, but then when you put it on, it looks like the most beautiful, the most juicy effect ever, and it's so great. It's so amazing. I absolutely love wearing this like all the time, and I've been wearing it every single day. The only reason I haven't really been wearing it that much on camera you probably have seen me wear a few times though, is because I just, whenever I'm filming and whenever I have like a really bright and bold makeup look, I kind of want to pair like a really bright and bold eyeshadow look with a really bright and vivid lip color. That's what I've been doing lately. I feel like that just creates a more exciting makeup look, and that's what I've been like gravitating towards. But for every day, when I want something that will not necessarily require a lot of touching up, that I don't have to pay a lot of attention to. I mean, every single day I go to work and I don't want to basically be checking in the mirror every single like hour to check my makeup. Like, no, like that's not what you're supposed to be doing at your job, in my personal opinion. So I want something that is really beautiful on the lips, but I also want something that I literally do not have to worry about, and this is just that. So I love this so much. It's like an amazing thing. It just literally is so moisturizing too. I love it. Next, I want to talk about blushes. And a few months ago, I was completely like turned off by blushes, but like I have been slowly trying to reintroduce myself to the various different blushes that I already own in my collection. And these Milani baked blushes have always been something, well, not always, but they have been something that I consistently reach for whenever I do feel like wearing blush. And keep in mind, I actually don't often feel like wearing blushes, but whenever I have felt the urge to put on a blush, these Milani blushes and these two particular shades have been the ones that I have been most excited by. So these are the baked blushes right here, and these are absolutely beautiful. I have two shades. I have number 2, Rose de Oro, and then I have number 6, Bellissimo Bronze. I do have more, but these are my top 2 favorite shades from this blush line that I have. So these are just like sheer beautiful washes of color on the cheeks. They have just enough micro shimmer in them to really give your cheeks like this beautiful, flattering, flushed effect, but it's definitely not anything overpowering. What's really great about these is that they go on so sheer and you can really build them up, but regardless of how much you build them up, they still blend out so beautifully, and they just look like a beautiful wash of color on the cheeks. And this is coming from somebody that isn't necessarily a big fan of cheeks that look pink. I mean, I like it on other people, but on myself, I don't want my cheeks to look pink. Of course, that might change, but I prefer something on the cheeks that's like bronzy, shimmery, and really like flattering, that just enhances essentially the tan that I wish I had. So these do just that, and I like them because they have more of a bronzy look to them. They're not that like rosy pink, so these are absolutely amazing. And I mean, I've heard that these are dupes for the Hourglass ambient lighting blushes, I believe, and I haven't tried those, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that were completely true, because these are so good. Like, I cannot believe that this is a drugstore formula. I mean, Milani used to be a brand that I used to purchase from all the time, but like I didn't necessarily find myself using a lot of their products recently that much, and then I sort of got back into them, and now I'm reminded why I just loved this brand so much back in the day. But next I want to talk about something that I was obsessed with, like I would say like about a year ago. And then I actually stopped using this because I started changing the way I did my makeup. And I am talking about the Coty Airspun Loose Face Powder. This is something that I raved about whenever I used to bake all the time. Whenever I used to have the matte face, this was the powder that I absolutely loved more than any other thing in the world. I think that I used up at least 1 tub of this. Sorry, this is going everywhere. Is this closed? I have no idea. But I used up at least 1 tub of this, and I already have 2. And right when I was basically getting into that mindset of, oh, I don't really want to be using powder on my face anymore, I don't really want to have that matte look, I basically stopped using this as much. And recently, I have been looking in my collection, and I came to the realization that, oh boy, I have 2 huge tubs of powder that are not getting used. How do I use these? And I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I could use these as dry shampoo. And that's exactly what I've been doing. And I think that I'm definitely not a hairdresser. I do not do hair on my channel because I really do not know anything about hair. I just like know like that you shouldn't use a lot of heat on it, and you should wash it like every few days. That's what I know. I'm not somebody who's an expert on hair, so therefore, maybe this is like the worst thing to put in your hair for dry shampoo. But for me, I think dry shampoo is powder, and I have a lot of powder that I'm not using for my face, so let's use it for my hair. And I actually don't necessarily use shampoo, like dry shampoo, all over my head the traditional way. I actually use dry shampoo, or I like to have the effective dry shampoo for my bangs. I take a brush. I have a special brush for this purpose. I don't know where it went. You know what? I'll just use this. But I basically take a brush, okay? I dip it into some of this powder. This is like all what I do in the morning before I go to work, before I go anywhere. I basically dip it into this powder. I just swirl some off the lid. And if I need to, I just go into the tub. And I lift my bangs and I basically apply this powder with the brush to the root of my bangs. And I know that this is like a really weird way of doing it, but this is how I've been using this powder. And I mean, I don't know if you can see the difference or not, but like instantly, my bangs are lifted, my bangs are given more volume, and this is exactly what I would do in the morning to prevent my bangs from becoming super sweaty and gross looking throughout the day. So that's how I've been using this powder, and that's why this is a favorite. I never thought I would actually be using this powder right now when I'm not necessarily interested in putting powder or putting face powder on my face. But I have been using this for my hair, and I absolutely love it for that purpose. But then again, I'm not an expert at hair. I don't know much about it, but this is just my experience. Next, I want to talk about this palette right here, and this is the Lorac Pro 2 palette. And you're probably wondering, why is this in your favorites video? And why have you hit pan on it when you clearly state in almost every single video that you don't like neutrals? And that's a fair question, because I don't necessarily like neutrals. I don't really usually wear neutral shadows, and it's kind of odd, I would guess, to have me basically mention this as my favorite and possibly most used eyeshadow palette, point blank period, when it's a neutral palette. So let me do some explaining. So basically, I have been going into my makeup collection, and whenever I did my least used eyeshadow palettes video, which I will put in the cards or down below, and it is up on my channel, but I did my least used eyeshadow palettes video, and that video basically made me realize that I did not use this palette at all. Like, this palette was completely unused, and I was like, you know what, there's so many different things in this palette that I can use. Let me just think of them, and then I'll see what I can do. So I just ended up looking at this palette as an opportunity to basically take all of these different shadows that had previously gone completely unused and reinvent them in my head and think up ways to use this in my makeup. The first way I used this palette was specifically with this shade right here that I've completely hit pan on, but I first started using this shadow as an eyebrow powder. That's one way I use this palette. The other way I use this palette is by using these two colors, Snow and Beige, for brow bone highlights. Today, for this look right here, I used Snow as a brow bone highlight, and I've been using it like a ton. Then, I mentioned before in this video that my favorite go-to everyday look happens to be winged liner with eyeshadow smudged in my lower lash line. What I do is I use these two colors in my lower lash line on an everyday basis. So I have been using this palette pretty much every single day. If I don't use any other color, I usually use this cool gray color for my brows, but I have come up with several different ways to use this palette. And this was one that I actually wasn't sure how I would use at all, because there are some colors in here that I absolutely loathe. I don't like this color, and I don't like this color, and those are just two of the colors in this palette that I don't like. But I've been trying to come up with ways to use different items in my collection, and this is just an example. So that's why this is a favorite. I would not recommend this, but I'm pretty sure that if you're like me and you like color, you can probably find a palette similar in your collection that you might have gotten ages ago that you just aren't using. Here are some ideas to use that palette. So anyway, moving on. That was like a very long tangent. Sorry about that. But let's talk about some more face products. So there are two bronzing slash contouring products that I've been loving. And again, this is basically born out of me trying to use some of my lesser used products in my collection to really get to know things that I purchased a long time ago but just simply forgot about. And I have been obsessed with these two products. One is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Powder Contour Kit in light medium. This is what it looks like. And then the other is the Milani Bronzer, and this is in the shade number 2 Fake Tan. So I'm actually wearing this one on my face today. What I do is I just take a large brush and I swirl it around in the pan, and I basically pick up a little bit of each one of these colors, and I basically use this to sculpt my face. So that's how you get like this soft sculpted look on my cheekbone. That's basically created using this. And I've also been obsessed with using this as well. And my favorite color in this entire palette is this color right here, this middle shade called Fawn. Fawn is, for me, like one of the most perfect contour shades ever. It is cool toned. It has just the right amount of gray in it to really make it look like a natural shadow on the face. Whenever I want like a truly natural looking contour with little to no warmth in it whatsoever, I go for this. And whenever I want something that's like really warming to my face, that really just bronzes up things a little bit, I go for this one. So I've been using both of these products on and off, and I've been obsessed. What I look for in a bronzer slash contour product is an item that can really give me like a beautiful blended effect. I don't want anything that's too stripy. I don't want anything that will skip. I want something that will basically give me like a soft contoured effect. For me, when it comes to a lot of face products, and contour slash bronzing products are one of them, I don't want anything that is necessarily very pigmented. For me, blendability when it comes to bronzing slash contouring items is more important than pigmentation. I don't want anything that will look too pigmented because that will just look unnatural, and quite frankly, that will look a little bit difficult to blend. And I am all for that dramatic bronzed contoured look, but I don't always want that. Sometimes I want to build up to that, but I don't want that straight out of the gate. So these two items for me are absolutely beautiful. I seriously love them so much. I think it's very difficult to overdo any kind of contouring when you use any of these shades right here. I actually have not used these highlighting powders in a very long time. I do want to try and use them again, and I will get back to you when I do. But I will say that this is easy to overdo because of how warm it is. I mean, it's not like easy to overdo, but it's easier to overdo than the Anastasia one because this one, like these powders have so much more, well, slightly more warmth to them. So it is quite easy to overdo this. So you end up looking like a bronzed mess, kind of, a little. But this is very difficult to overdo. So anyway, I've been using both of these and I've been loving them. Last but not least, I do want to mention something that you've probably already seen before on my channel, but something that is still a favorite, so I cannot help but mention it because I love it so much. This is the Color Drain Vivid Pigments and Shadows palette. I love it so much. I love it so much. It is absolutely beautiful. I have mentioned it countless times on this channel. I have constructed an entire playlist based on this palette, based on looks I've done with this palette, based on reviews that I've done with this palette, based on videos that have featured this palette. I have done a playlist, and that playlist will be in the cards for your enjoyment. But this is such a good palette. Like seriously, all the colorful palettes that have been coming out recently and all the videos that I've been doing like inspired by those color schemes, almost every single tutorial that I've done inspired by a new palette has involved me dipping into this palette right here. And by the way, if you don't know that series that I've been doing, I've basically been doing like a series pretty much inspired by the fact that I'm on a no-buy and the fact that I still really do like a lot of the color stores that have been coming out lately. So what I do is I basically look at a new palette, look at a picture of a new palette, that has launched online, and I look within my own collection and I come up with creative ways to create a look based off of the color scheme of that new palette using shades I already own in my collection, if that makes any sense. I have an entire playlist for that video series as well, and I'll put it in the cards for you guys. But I have been using this palette for virtually every single video in that series recently, and it's for a good reason. This palette has virtually everything you need for a really great colorful makeup look, and all of these pressed pigments are amazing quality. Like, I use all of these shades so much and I absolutely love them. The one shade in here that I don't use obsessively is Unbothered, but like I still have gone into it quite a lot. So like I use this palette all the time. I love it. I believe I'm wearing it today. Actually, no, I'm not. Well, yes, I am. I'm wearing some of the purples in my inner corner. I just dip into this palette all the time because there are so many different ways you can combine this palette with other palettes, with other singles. There is just literally so much that can be done with this palette, and I absolutely love it, and I use it all the time, and I cannot help but mention it in this video. So, with that being said, that is the end of this video. Those were all my favorites for this month, for recent times. Should I go back to doing monthly favorites? I'm not sure. I probably will. We'll see. But that is the end of this favorites video for now. But yes, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this video and found it interesting and informative. And I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Bye, guys.